What the hell is long COVID? Chapter 2. It's a bioweapon. But Chris, isn't that controversial? That it's a bioweapon? No, not really. Not at this point. And even if it were, I just want to heal. I want the truth. And so do you. I know. You know. We all know. It's a bioweapon. But how do we know it's a bioweapon? We only know it came out of a lab, someone might say. As far as I'm concerned, that's word games. It's a hostile, lab-designed virus that's intended primarily to target humans. If that's not the definition of a bioweapon, I don't know what is. Okay. But I feel it's important to lead with this, for two critical reasons. Number one, taking it seriously. By now, everyone knows it's a bioweapon, but for whatever reason, few think about what that actually means. Stop and think a minute. If COVID was designed in a lab, fine-tuned to infect and injure humans, don't you think, just maybe, it's a bit more devious than you thought? Maybe it might be designed to trick and hijack your immune system, and maybe rip you up without you ever realizing it until it's too late. Maybe. Number two, understanding how to detox. If it's a bioweapon, and it is, you're in a war, and you must know your enemy in order to beat it. Stop talking about natural immunity. For that matter, this is relevant to understanding how to decode the detox as well. I can't count the number of commentators I've found who say something like this. This is the mechanism of long COVID. Listen, it's a bioweapon. The designers of this thing were dumb enough to have just one single mechanism. This bioweapon is a combination lock, and you need to know the whole combination in order to unlock it, i.e. detox. If COVID were natural, it would be relatively simple. In nature, even viruses are beautiful. But COVID is ugly, complex, clearly concocted. That should be the first hint that it's man-made. In fact, using your natural immunity as jujitsu against you may even be a key feature of this bioweapon. For example, with the dengue virus, mosquito-spread hemorrhagic fever, if you get infected with one type, and then later a second type, there are 4 of them, your reaction will be far worse, possibly, than if you had never had the first infection. You'll get a crazy out-of-control hyperimmune response. Unrelated, of course, Dr. Ralph Baric has many studies on the dengue virus. Take a look sometime. So, for all you and I know, these initial infections are just teeing up your immune system to be imbalanced later when something else comes down the pipe. Sounds almost like a bioweapon. But stop talking about natural immunity. It may be relevant, but it's not even close to the whole picture. If someone is swinging a baseball bat at your head, your natural immunity isn't the answer. This isn't a natural virus. Do you seriously think that someone is going to waste their time and design a bioweapon in a lab that doesn't trick your immunity in certain ways? You need to understand what you're doing and why, instead of just downing a few supplements you read about and hoping for the best. That's what this book is for, by the way. Well, now that we've opened with that lovely icebreaker, I feel like we can start the party. We know that COVID is a bioweapon. At the beginning, there was some back and forth about that, but apparently the science has changed on that as well. So let's talk bioweapons. When most people think bioweapon, they think Hollywood, e.g. Mission Impossible, etc. They think gas masks. They think of something like Ebola. Sure, certain bioweapon designs involve dramatic foaming at the mouth asphyxiated death. This would probably especially be true for bioweapons targeted at opposing military forces. But set that aside, because that's not what we're dealing with here. This is different. We don't have documentary evidence of intent, perhaps, but what we do have is real-world evidence of the effect of this virus, enough to make this chilling statement. This virus was not designed to target military opposition. The COVID bioweapon was designed to target you, and your wife, and your babies, and your community. But why? I'm sure someone could write a wonderful book on this topic, and it is certainly a worthy topic, but it's not a topic for this book. Theoretically, I guess, COVID's design is a eugenicist's dream, but I'm not going to dive in here and start talking about the chimeric SARS defuse DARPA grant application. I'm not going to ideate about Dr. Ralph Barrick's gain-of-function studies or patents. I'm not going to examine why a synthetic cancer-causing gene sequence patented in 2017 by Moderna is built into the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Although this last element is important to your healing. See U.S. Patent number 9587003, March 7, 2017. Modified polynucleotides for the production of oncology-related proteins and peptides, aka cancer proteins and peptides. A corresponding 1996 NIH article entitled NIH Scientists Find Mutant Repair Gene MSH3 Has a Role in Uterine Cancer describes the type of instability that this patented sequence creates as it relates to the formation of cancers in the uterus, colon, pancreas, ovary, stomach, lung, and bladder. But again, do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. I will say this. Did we learn absolutely nothing from the previous century? The century known for mass programs of population culling, genocides, and etc. That lesson is still within literal living memory, and in certain places is still ongoing. In our own country, at the time of the publishing of this book, one could have literally meandered on down to Elbert County, Georgia, and enjoyed a creepy afternoon of reading the bizarre Georgia guide stones. 40-year-old monolithic stones inscribed with various agenda, one of which, chillingly, was to reduce and maintain the world population under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. In other words, killing off 94% of the world's population. Draw your own conclusions. The point is, if an intentional population die-off startles you, you probably need to pay closer attention to the topics not proffered by AP News. There's also a corollary that goes along with all this. There's been a clear media blitz that has driven people into two distinct camps. Again, I think it's strange credulity to argue that this too wasn't by design, but someone else can talk about that if they want. For now, I'd just like to admit, I was fooled. I was taken for a ride. You see, these two camps are as follows. Number 1, adhere to every overamped, hyper-fearful statement in the media. Or 2, ignore COVID more or less completely. I happened to fall into the second category, but quite frankly, both categories were hoodwinked. There's a third category that, after you read this book, I hope you will now fall into, namely one who, 3, recognizes COVID is a bioweapon and has to be defended against, but responds correctly without living in fear or participating in meaningless gestures that don't really do anything to protect anyone against anything. What fools these mortals be. Don't be fooled like I was. It's a bioweapon, my friends. Treat it like one.